All right, welcome everybody. Tonight is the 21st of March. Dallas Personal Robotics Group Builders Night Virtual. Welcome aboard. We're starting off a little slow tonight, but that'll be just fine. We have a queue started with Ray and then Ted, and then open mic. And Doug will graciously let people in and help facilitate. I have to step away, I'm afraid, to prepare for some travel. So with that, I would say, Ray, the floor is yours, and then Ted, then open mic.
Okay, cool. Okay, these are. Can you guys see that?
That tank looks big.
Yeah. It's, you know, like it says, it's like the size of a milk jug. I did go the Go Builder route. I liked it a little bit better than Rev. The hex axles are only 5 millimeters, and Go Builder they're 8. They had a great facility for, you know, ball bearing here and here. So with this heavier load, I really didn't want to go with, you know, these motors on a smaller platform because they're only like 4 millimeters. And I thought it might stress it out too much. But so far the Go Builder stuff's pretty good. And I don't know if you can see it here, this piece and this piece, there's another piece in the back supporting the caster, are actually make block stuff. And the spacing of the make block holes is not everywhere, but in a lot of places on these pieces is the same. It's 16 millimeter. So that's kind of nice. I could use, this is a servo driven claw, basically, that I've used on other robots that were, you know, based on the make block stuff. And it attaches, you know, very easy to this stuff. I've tried this, you know, just manually with the tank, and basically this is a like Schrader valve, like you'd see on a bicycle tire. I can fill it up with like an air chuck off of a compressor hose, and I don't, you know, I want to be conservative with this. I don't want to blow the darn thing up. So, you know, it's 150 PSI max. I'm going only up to about 100. And with that, there's, you know, there's enough flow through this. There is a restrictor in here, but there's enough airflow that it'll pretty much push the can more than 10 feet. And it seems like I can, you know, I can aim pretty good with it. I'm actually gonna buy it's a solenoid valve. So I'll have an elbow, a 90-degree elbow here. It'll go into the solenoid valve. And then I think I'm going to use, I'm going to try the plastic tubing and bring it out and, you know, point it kind of in line here with the can. I might make a 3D printed thing or something to hold that piece of tubing in place. And then if that doesn't work well because of too much restriction through the solenoid, I've got a pretty powerful servo. It's 30 kilogram centimeter one to actuate this handle. And I've also got another solenoid valve that's I think strong enough to actuate this, but I haven't experimented with it to find out yet. Anyway, so that's my proposal using the can. It's, you know, Go Builder based. The other one.
About how many shots do you think you'll get at the can?
Well, I've tried it. You know, 6 can, you know, kind of the minimum was 6. And
Yeah.
I've tried it with 7, and it'll blow, the cans easily 10 feet, probably more like up to 15 feet. And if I point the nozzle, not at the very top of the can, but just, beyond this little curve here, it tends to like flip it forward, and it stays in pretty much a straight line, kind of flipping forward. And the blast I can get, it depends on the duration of the blast, but at least 7 shots out of it, which should be enough, with enough pressure. I don't have to have full pressure though all the way over the course, because the closer I get to the goal, the shorter the blast can be, because I don't have to send it 10 feet. I may have to send it 2 feet.
Right.
So I really, I was looking at a half-gallon tank, but I don't think it would have held enough air. And like I said, I want to be, conservative on the pressure rating. It says I can go up to 150, and the bursting is 300, but I certainly don't want to go anywhere near that. But anyway, so I'm going to try using the solenoid valve. If it's got good flow or enough flow, I'll keep it. If not, I'll try to do a 3D printed part with a servo on it to actuate this lever. And it'll be, stuck out about here, kind of in line with the can. So the other one, this one, so I've got, the two Pepe brothers, the first one's Pepe, Gonzalez, and this one's Speedy Gonzalez because of the huge wheels. I think these are like 5.5-inch or 6-inch wheels. And in my old platform, I was, I just grabbed some Tanner motors and put it together. This one, I have a lot more options, and, it's fairly light and fairly rigid because it's made out of make block stuff. And this is the same, can gripper that's 3D printed that was on the other one. And these are motors with encoders, already on the back of it. And so those are the two platforms that I hope to beat Scott with. They're, the one I think is like, I think I actually started that one in 2015, I want to say. So it's like 8 years old, and there were a lot of compromises with it. And so this stuff, a lot less compromise, and hopefully good design to beat Scott. So
looks like second and third to me, Ray.
What's that?
I said it looks like second and third to me.
Oh, I don't know. You may be surprised. So
looks like Jim had a question. He wants to know if you launch the cans in the air.
Yeah, they kind of flip end to end, and it arcs a little bit, but it stays pretty close to the ground. So I'm kind of hoping that, based on distance, I can modulate the blast of air. Because like I said, if I'm just a couple of feet away, I don't need a large blast. And, because the cans are going to be placed all over the course like they normally are. So, and it should take a lot less time than going back and forth and back and forth. All I got to do is grab the can, point to the goal, go on to the next one. So,
Ray, I'm not sure you can get what type of tubing you said you were going to use. I mean, 100 PSI is a lot of pressure. I don't know if you can get
Yeah, they
away
make
with-
pneumatic tubing that'll withstand like 300 psi.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
it's
So you're getting
uh,
special purpose. You're not just going down to Handy Dan and grabbing some
no, it's
uh,
I can show you here. It's made for for pneumatics.
pneumatics. Okay, I got it. That's all I needed to know.
So are you gonna
Yeah.
need to bring an air compressor with you, Ray?
Well, luckily I won't, because the makerspace has air compressors out in the shop, So I could do
Foot pump or a bicycle pump.
I'd
Yeah.
be there forever pumping that thing.
No, well, maybe not. 100. That's 1 gallon, right? Or a
Yeah, but still, that's
Yeah.
to get it up to 100 psi, that's a lot.
yeah, that probably. Or one of those little car tire inflators.
Yeah,
Those will go. They're high pressure, low volume, high pressure.
like this is what I was looking at, and this has you actually shove the plastic tubing like this over here,
Mm.
into these, and they lock in, and then these thread into the input and output of the solenoid.
So when you
And,
go back, slide over a little bit. What is that? There's some sort of spec there. What's that?
Oh, the pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 kilograms per centimeter squared. I think
Which
that's like
is-
160 psi.
Oh, okay.
There's a simple conversion for it, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so reviews on this one seem pretty good. You can run it on 12 volts.
Mm-hmm.
They say that you can switch it up to 5 times a second. So I'm hoping that it's fairly, fast responding, and if I can, temperature range. Yeah, this one's a little lower. This one's 116 psi, and I'm not certain of the flow rate through it. That may be an issue, but if it is, I can always stick a solenoid on the other valve. And I think the tubing.
And you could always put a regulator in front of it so you have higher pressure in the tank.
Yeah. Here working pressure is 362 psi. So it's actually the working pressure is above the bursting pressure of the tank. And I've never used these plastic fittings. I'm a little leery of those, but apparently that's what people use to distribute air pressure, like in a garage or something. Stuff like this. So
Those are used quite a bit in industry.
say that again.
Those fittings are used quite a bit in industry.
Oh, they are like these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll take them, I see them routinely with 45, 60 PSI on them. And I know that they make stuff that'll go higher to 100 PSI.
Yeah. So what are the systems that you use? What kind of pressures do they work with?
We use them like in the lumber industry. They're used on sorter, tipple diverters in a sorter bin. So the tipple raised to divert the lumber into the bin.
Yeah.
And they'll fire, let's say, anywhere 50, 60 times a minute.
Oh, really? That often? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use them in a industrial environment I've worked in all these years. Those quick disconnects like that on pneumatic cylinders and solenoids like that, So
Yeah.
they hold up. They'll take up a lot of pressure for sure.
Yeah, Jim's
They'll
got
also make a little clip for them that'll lock them.
Sure do.
Oh, really? Huh?
They got them clips to keep it from popping out.
Yeah, but it's part of that fitting, right?
Yeah, it's like you would get on I got some on 3D printer, I'm sure y'all seen one on it.
Yeah, like
Oh,
for
yeah.
a Bowden tube.
I think Jim's got a question. He's got his hand raised. You might ask him, Ray.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bowden tube clips.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can I? No, I haven't tried it. So.
Bagpipes.
So you never know.
Well, this is definitely going to be an interesting entry for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something different.
Yeah.
Could be just could be like halftime entertainment, right?
We'll see.
Well, I'm hoping to get it a little more functional than just blowing
So
cans.
on Speedy Gonzalez, what is your plans on that? I mean, obviously you've got something that can go fast.
Yep.
But how are you feel on your software? I mean, that's a new platform for you.
Yeah, it is. But I was going to use one of the RoboClaws, the small RoboClaws.
Mm-hmm.
And I've already done, it's basically the same software for the outdoor robot.
Mm-hmm.
So, it makes it a lot easier. You just send it a velocity command and it does it for you. So
Okay.
it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But
so it's going to be a straight odometry type run. There's there isn't going to be any feedback from the course itself to correct for errors.
I was still going to do one of the distance sensors on the back of it, because I don't need to have great accuracy. I mean, the goal is pretty wide. I don't know, like 3 feet wide or something, or close to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's 35 inches.
35 inches. Yeah, there you go. An inch short of 3 feet. So pretty big opening.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I did some experiments with one on a Romney platform a while ago. So yeah, mostly odometry, but I could use that to see that I pass, like, well, on this one, one of them I need to know if I pass through the goal or not. But the other one, hopefully I won't need to get near the goal.
You'll never get there.
From
Yeah.
a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the plan if you blow the can into the corner, Ray?
Shit happens,
Uh-oh.
I can give you the answer to that. It's second place.
Well, I guess you'll have to see whether I can get it done or not, Scott.
I think Ted coined it. It should be entertaining.
Okay.
So you might need to be prepared. Like Trump, he didn't win, and he was very sad.
Well, you got to lose first.
Yeah. Well, I like to see the new innovation, Ray. That's cool.
Yep.
And we'll see. I mean,
Definitely a novel approach.
right.
You're saying that it kind of launched the cans in an arc, though, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So
it kind of goes, flips
End
over,
yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking about the size of the goal, right? It's 35 wide, but it's only 12 inches tall.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is used to be that like in front of the goal there was a box that was donated with blue tape, and you could put your cans in there. Didn't have to go through the goal.
Oh, wait a minute.
Nah, that's not how soccer works.
Oh, you're thinking of the only one that was like that was tabletop. And that was no, not on 6CAN. 6CAN's rules have been about the same since the beginning.
Yeah, but we had it was optional to have like an area on the inside of the goal where you could stick the camp. You didn't have to go through the goal.
No, you had an area in front of the goal where you could put your robot. But everybody started putting your robots right in the middle of the starting gate, so we stopped doing it. But there was, when we first started, and I think if you read the rules, it still says, you can put your robot anywhere in. I think I want to say it's 18 inches, but I can't remember. But otherwise, there's a line that's like a starting box.
Yeah,
that
right.
You can position you don't have to be putting your robot right in the middle underneath the goal.
Okay, so that was for robots, not for cans. Huh?
Yeah. And the reason why why people stop doing it is just easier to know if you start in the middle of the goal, you know where you are.
Yeah.
I'd have to read the rules to get the details.
Yeah, me too. I thought that's what I remembered anyway, but maybe not. Either way, I want to, hopefully be able to use to modulate the burst, depending on the distance, because, it's fine if it's going end to end, just as long as it's, less than 4 inches off the ground, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Like I said, it's going to be an interesting run. Yeah. So I don't see James. Is it Williams? Can't think of it. The other gentleman who's making progress on his. How about you, Pat? How's yours going?
I am troubleshooting a motor driver today. The motor controller output to each motor was reversed.
Yeah.
So my encoder essentially was reading the wrong wheel.
Yeah.
Or the wrong motor driver. So I found that out, swapped the pins today.
Yeah.
So got that sorting out. And right now I'm just working on some PID tuning and working on some disconnection issues. So I'm dropping out my serial port for some reason to my Arduino for the motor controller. And incidentally, while I'm doing that, when I lose communication, my motors are supposed to go to 0. Basically stop the motors. And that's not happening either. So I have a routine that flashes the LED if I lose communication and beeps the buzzer. And I get both of those, and my LED is still flashing, which happens, has to run through that routine to get basically the flashing. But my motors just keep running. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my code.
So, isn't that do you have an enable pin that besides the serial port that's supposed to cut the motor off, or are you trying
No, with this one here, I've got a pulse width modulation pin and a direction pin, and that is it on these cheap little drivers I'm using. So there is no enable pin, which would be nice.
Yeah.
The enable pin is basically on that little board, but they just tied 2 of them together, and they run it as a pulse width modulation.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying this, but so your PID is actually on your RoboClaw, right?
No, the PID is it's actually an L298. So the PID is in my Arduino.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I for some reason I thought you were using a RoboClaw.
Oh, life would be so easy if I was.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So I was fighting an issue earlier where I was getting, I believe, crosstalk between my encoders, and I had them tucked under the Arduino board, and they were overlapping each other. So I trimmed about 6 inches off of those today, put a new connector on the end. And that seems to have cleaned up those signals. So now I'm working on motor drivers, so I'll get that working. And I'm close with it.
Okay, cool.
So I have something I believe that's resetting communication, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. I'll have to look to it. Something's interfering with the serial connection
Well, what is the serial talking to?
to a Raspberry Pi.
Ah, got you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, and so I'm not crapping out the Raspberry Pi. It seems to be working good.
Yeah.
So, and it's on a separate. The Raspberry Pi is on a separate power supply right now than the motor and the motor controller.
Well, I guess the one thing that would strike me that might be of interest was, since your Arduino is 5 volts and the Raspberry Pi is 3.3, you have to make sure that you've got your levels correct. You can.
It's a USB serial connection.
Oh, USB.
So.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
And I've had very good luck with it in the past. It hasn't dropped out at all, and then this one happens to be dropping out. So I don't know if there's something wrong with the Arduino board itself. I was trying. I was out of town for a little bit last week, and I had a little Arduino Zero, essentially with a SAM-D21. So I wrote a routine on it and got it working to try to do motor control, but it seems to be really, really finicky, where it just craps right out no matter what. And it could have been my encoder cables that were the problem.
Okay.
So I've got the code stored away, but I haven't given up on it, but I'm trying to get this up and running so I can at least get the robot rolling.
Okay. Well, that's neat.
So that's where I'm at, and still struggling on.
Okay. All right. So Ray, were you were going, and I might have been hijacked it there. Did I hijack it? Did you have more you wanted to say?
Me? No.
Yeah. Okay. Then I guess it's Ted.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do have an update I want to show off on my outdoor robot. But before I do that, I have a question for the group, sort of robot related. I have a buddy who's involved in a scout group, and they do a pine wood derby. That's where the kids take a block of wood and build a little car and race it down a 40-foot long track. So they have a timer that has a start gate and a finish line, and it times how long it takes the cars to get down. So, and the issue they had was they lost the cable that connects the start gate to the finish line timer, and it's a phone, just a phone cable, RJ11, and they tried to replace it, but it wasn't working, so they gave it to me, and I took a look at it, and there's a PIC microcontroller in the starting line and one in the finish line, and they communicate over 19,200 bits per second, just UART serial, 5 volt. And so I have a crimper, so I built up a cable. Well, first I looked at it, and the first problem was a regular phone cable will reverse the 4 wires from one end to the other, and their cable was straight through. So that was their first problem. But then, so I built up just one, like a 6-foot long cable to test it, and it worked. And then I went to a 40-foot cable, and it didn't work. And it didn't seem to work much over about 10 feet. I figured that's just how far serial can get. And I eventually told them, you're going to have to go to the manufacturer and get a replacement. But I'm just curious, like, anyone have any ideas what sort of cable they were using to get this to work?
Well, 40 feet.
Yeah.
Are you sure it was serial and maybe not like a RS-485?
Oh, no, it was definitely serial. I plugged in like a serial to USB connector and tested everything. It was definitely 19,200 serial, 5 volt.
Well, Ted, did you have an oscilloscope by any chance?
No, I didn't have a scope to look at it.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if you could see what was deteriorating on the waves.
Yeah,
how-
I figure it was just, the length was too long for the UART signal. But I'm just curious how they must have used some sort of twisted pair wiring or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You may have
I
been
don't know,
running
I don't know what's
into,
inside the cable. I don't know if it's twisted or not.
but you may have been running into the inductance of the cable, because as the cable gets longer, and you probably identified it, especially if it's not twisted, the inherent inductance, because it's per foot. So as you increase the length of the cable, the inductance increases, and therefore the inductance kick when you're trying to switch. And 19.2 is really not super fast. And I've run 9600 baud, at 5-volt levels like you're talking about, 30, 40 feet successfully in the past.
Okay.
But I think you're right. It has to do with what kind of cable it was. It may not have been just a flat phone cable. And really, a lot of the really thin conductor phone cable has a really high impedance per foot too, which at those kind of levels is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
right?
they must have been
a lot of
using.
line loss. So one thing you might try is to get a phone cable with a higher gauge wire, because you probably had 30 gauge or maybe even higher. I don't know. It depends on what kind of cable you had.
Do you think like some network cable like Cat5 would do
Yes,
better?
Cat5 cable just with an RJ11 on the end of it, at least it would be twisted, right?
Yeah.
And I also think you could probably get higher gauge wire.
Okay.
The other thing with phone cable wire is it's made to be very, very flexible. So it has a small gauge strand and there's a lot of them, right? Whereas network cable is more coarse. And that has an effect with the inductance value too.
Okay.
The other thing you might try is going with the standard RS-232 voltage levels. There are a number of parts out there that will take 5 volts and pump it up to plus or minus 10 volts and more.
Or 12, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know they had a cable at one point that worked, so I was just hoping to replace the cable. But yeah, that's always a thought if they can't get the cable replaced.
I would just take some Cat5 cable and put an RJ11 end on it and see what happens. I mean, it's easy to come across, and what do you got to lose?
Yeah, it's worth a try. Okay.
Jim's raised his hand again. What do you got, Jim?
Macintosh uses something called PhoneNet, but might have to Google that one. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I've used RS-232, just 0 to 5 volt levels, and for several hundred feet, and it still seems to work okay. And that's over. That is actual twisted pair phone cable. So there's like 3 twisted pair, and it's 6 wires total.
Is this a gold star in the making?
Yeah, this is hopefully a gold star. I finally got the motor controller and the RC stuff and the batteries hooked up. So I ran it outside for the first time today. And yeah, I've got a little tuning to do, and the video's not that great since I was trying to hold the camera and drive at the same time. But yeah, here it is driving. And I was kind of taking it slow there.
Oh, nice.
But it seems to have no trouble getting over stuff. Occasionally, those the wheels on the swivels there, if you hit something hard enough, they'll flip all the way around, which I have to do something to keep it from doing that.
What do you mean flip?
Well, let's see. You'll see it here in just a minute, a few seconds here.
So is this autonomous, Ted, or?
No, I'm driving it RC.
Okay.
Let me see if I can back up there. You'll see on the side closest to us, the back two wheels flip around. See that? Then they flip back at that point, but sometimes they'll get stuck in the wrong orientation. So there's the motors right there. The motors are on the front, and they'll get flipped over to the back.
Looks like they'll drive over a horse apple.
Yeah, I don't have any horse apples here. I might just have to get some tennis balls or something to drive over.
Softballs. Get you some
softballs.
softballs.
Those
Yeah.
things are big. Wow.
Yeah. 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 But unfortunately, you need something like 10 of them to kind of get the effect, you know?
Yeah.
What's that stuff it's driving on? It's not white.
Yeah, that's grass. You haven't seen that in a while.
Oh,
Yeah,
you can see it flipping there.
Yeah, there it's flipping. So I'll just put some blocks or something to keep it from going too far.
Yeah. Yeah. That shouldn't be hard.
But yeah, I was happy with it driving over the rain gutter there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little worried that I wouldn't be able to turn very well, but it seems to turn just fine. And this
Okay, let me, just for my curiosity, so the two wheels are the front. The two wheels together are the front.
Well, so Doug, I haven't decided which side is the front yet.
Okay, gotcha.
I just need to drive it around some more and see which way it goes over obstacles better.
Okay.
Because yes, let's see if we get back here, right? So right now the two wheels, well, yeah, how to say this? The two wheels on the right side are connected together in the front, and the two back wheels, left and right, are connected together. So yeah, right now I'm driving it such that the front is facing to the right in this screenshot.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And the so Jim, you have another question?
He's just putting out information, I believe.
Oh,
He's
okay, the
got-
old school Macintosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next test though is to try to get a little better ground clearance by moving where the wheels swivel, the linkages swivel.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to decrease it then, or just slightly, or
What's that?
are you decreasing the distance then, or between the
So-
wheels?
So right now the wheels are connected to the bottom of the rover's platform. I'm going to move the connection to the top and raise the whole thing up. So yeah, it's a little hard to show right now, but because I've got them connected on the bottom underneath the robot, there's a lot of parts there that I want to get out of the way so it can go over stuff more easily.
Yeah. So like, for example, you can kind of see it here. The motor is using up a lot of your ground space.
Yeah, those motors.
Yeah, because they're hanging below the center of the halfway, the shaft's in the middle, and they're hanging halfway below it.
Yeah.
So you've used the Go Builder stuff for a while now. What's your opinion of it? Pretty solid, or?
Yeah, it's solid. It's very strong. I like it. Mostly I like it because I like to reconfigure and experiment around with the robots, and it's easy to just, unbolt stuff and screw it back together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do they generally handle the bearings? Do they have a special bearing block that they use to?
They have several different ones. They have some that are like the size of skateboard wheels that are skateboard bearings.
Yeah.
that go on the motors there and the motor shafts.
Yeah.
And then they have some bigger ones for like bigger tubes and stuff.
Mm.
Let me show you with my robot here. So this is kind of what I was talking about, the bottom.
Okay. So
There's that bearing here that's, it's like this big. It's in there. I don't know. You can kind of see it.
okay.
And then there's these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the little holes along the strips are 14 millimeter, or the bigger holes rather. And so, yeah, they make a small bearing that fits into that, and then over the hex shaft.
Yep.
So, and so it's like your motor shaft isn't like cantilevered out off of a bearing in the planetary or something with the gearbox. So you have a bearing, in two places, and it's fairly rigidly supported.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
And if I remember right, you have between the two wheels that are ganged, you have a belt drive. Is that
Correct. The belt drive.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
And
Is that a GT2 type of belt or?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what size belt.
Yeah. Is it 6 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 12 millimeter?
I think it's
wide.
6. Yeah, I think
Six?
it's 6 or 8.
Okay. And you're not having any issues. 6 is doing okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The belt seems plenty strong, and it doesn't. Oh, it looks like Jim gave me a gold star.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I haven't had any trouble with the belt yet.
Okay.
One more thing I'm thinking of is moving the wheels a little bit closer together. Lengthwise, so that because I had a little bit of trouble. It looked like that rain gutter I went over almost got stuck high centered between those wheels. So.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like if it hurts when you do that, then don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't go over rain gutters,
But anyways, it's an outdoor robot, and I want it to be autonomous, so it might go over things I don't want it to go over.
Yeah. It looked like it was jumping up your step, from your lawn to your patio without any issue.
Yeah, that's only like 3 inches though, so it's not a very high step to go over.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I tried it over. There's some wood blocks in my garden there, and that's a little higher. That's like 8 inches, and it had a lot of trouble getting up there. I had to take a couple running starts to get it up there.
Okay, so we couldn't just drive up to it and go up 8 inches.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, but how usually they say that you can't get up over something that's higher than halfway between or 1/4 your radius, or 1/2 your radius. Usually,
well, half your diameter, right?
Yeah.
The radius.
Yeah, diameter.
Yeah, half your diameter. Yeah.
That's assuming a rigid frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is articulated.
If you're flexible, you can climb up anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my idea with making it articulated like that, is it could just, lift the front up.
Yeah. So what that would be is you definitely would want to go with the 2 wheels towards the front.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
probably.
the back wheel only goes this way.
Yeah, but then, the back wheel is not connected to the rigid. Well, they're connected rigidly to the frame, but the frame isn't rigid on the two ganged wheels, so the whole frame can articulate up and down.
Yeah, that,
So either,
his point is that the whole frame can lift up.
yeah,
So, that's not a limitation.
Okay.
right. But I haven't had a chance to go through and experiment with exactly how high. It's somewhere between 3 and 8 inches it'll get up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty
Well,
good.
that's nice to have it bounded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be able to do what you need to do.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine for like the Robo Columbus type thing.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Definitely.
Hear that, Ted? I mean, Scott? Ted's after you. Ted's coming after you.
Hey, Ted, are you gonna try to make the Robo Columbus in Dallas? You're gonna try to make it, or are you gonna do it remote?
Yeah, my plan is to drive down there, which I did the year before last.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's about a 10-hour drive for me, so
You're in where at now?
Denver, Colorado area.
All right. Colorado.
Yep.
Yeah. You're right there at what's the, did you ever go to the autonomous races that Spark Fun had?
Oh yeah, I went to I raced in 10 of them actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to race in one of them, but I didn't do too good. So.
Oh, you were there?
Well, at least at one.
Okay.
So, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a good experience.
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
was
fun.
great.
Yeah. So,
I take it they don't do that anymore.
No.
that's a shame.
Yeah, it is.
So thinking back on it, I think I only raced in 8 of them, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much canceled by COVID, right?
No, they were pretty well quitting it before COVID.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, they had already announced they weren't doing it before COVID came up.
Yeah.
I think 2018 was the last year.
Yeah, it was kind of. I want to say they. It was pretty well attended. I'm not sure why I probably just got to be a big. I know they used to do it in their parking lot for a while, and then they moved it away from their parking lot. And I think that they had some issues with some. They had opened up a drone competition, and there was some near accidents or something, and they kind of backed away from doing drones, and then things got.
And
they went back to the parking lot, didn't they? Yeah.
Well, they had it at the old building in the parking lot. Then they moved it to I think a reservoir. And then they moved it back to the new building parking lot. And then they moved it to the fairgrounds. And and the drones were only there for like 4 or 5 years before they decided that was too dangerous.
Yeah.
Is anybody going to the ST seminar next Friday?
That was about the for the 8-bit. Was that?
It was it was one of their 32-bit processors, but it was supposed to be a 8-bit replacement. Yeah, low cost.
Yeah.
They're calling it the C0 or something like that.
Yeah. So nobody's going then, huh?
I can't make it.
No.
Yeah. When you told me I had to buy the board, Ray,
Yeah.
and that I wasn't going to get a free lunch at the hotel that's within like a half a mile of my house, my interest was not near as high.
Very nice free lunch with
Yeah.
Agreed.
swag. I thought it had lunch though, because it's like from 9
Yeah,
to 3.
I'm sure they would provide lunch. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you used to give you a free board and give you free lunch. And like I said, the hotel was within 5 miles of my house. It was win-win-win. So.
Yep. Now the boards are $10, and I don't know. There may be somebody with a handout for your lunch.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, you want lunch? That's $20.
Yeah. Anyway.
So Doug,
Okay.
do you remember about what year you went to Spark Fun?
I went with two gentlemen. One of them was
Dick Swan.
Dick Swan, or Rick Swan. He's now called Rick Swan. He changed his name.
Oh.
And the other one was John Kay. John Kay and I. And when we were up there, Paul was working in Colorado at the time. So when we went up there, we all went on our river raft trip. And we also all went to watch his big army trucks. He took us there and gave us a tour of it. It was a great trip. And it was the year they introduced the spinning top.
Oh, okay. Yep. That was at the new building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the last one. When I did it, people were still jumping over it.
Yeah.
Except one guy, and I think the guy that won, he actually ran across it, but I can't remember all the details.
Yeah, and if I remember right, that top was spinning really fast.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So, when you're there, you really don't see much of the racing.
Yeah.
If you're participating, because you're in the pits trying to figure out, oh, isn't that working? So it's but it was like I say, you see all those people, all the different robots.
Yeah.
I mean, there were probably 50 robots there, I'd say. And that was pretty cool. Yeah. So I got my t-shirt, it says AV, whatever it was, autonomic vehicle, AVC, right? AVC competition.
ABC.
Yeah. Got my t-shirt.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah. But
By any chance, did you go down the Snake River?
it's whatever river was pretty near it.
Okay.
We had, we were at Rick's house. He lives in a nice neighborhood around a golf course, and we all met there, and he drove us up to someplace, to me, it seemed just right up the road. And we were in the foothills of the mountains. And I want to tell you something. 4 old dudes wrestling one of those river rafts, and the guy, this young buff guy saying, push harder, and you're going, and it was, didn't want to do it after that. I mean, I think when I was with escorting scouts doing the Colorado, one of the other rivers, it was a lot of fun down in Salida. But boy, you didn't, we had 6 young scouts in there, all senior scouts pulling and pushing, and we were, just 1 or 2 leaders. But when it was all 4 guys, that was it. That was in the boat. It was tough pushing and keeping it out of the rocks. So anyway, it was fun. It was a good trip.
Yeah, I want to say all the field applications engineers at Hitachi did one. I want to say it was on the American River in California, and I think they had like a ton of snow that year, and so the river was like roller coaster ride. I mean, you'd get, thrown 5 feet above the raft and come back down into the raft. And sometimes you didn't land in the raft, you landed in the water. And,
we didn't lose anybody overboard. When I was in the Scouts, that happened fairly often, but with us guys, we did manage to stay in the boat. Which when the way they have you sitting in the boat, I'm sure you're aware, you're sitting up on the big fluffy side, and every time you hit a rock, you bounce, like you said, up in the air, and staying in the boat's not tremendously easy. But it can be done with nothing like fear. It will keep you in the boat. Anyway, that was fun. So do you ever do that, Ted, since you live in the area, or is that just something like that's for the tourists?
So I'm not much into the rafting. I've done a couple of canoe trips over several days, and those are fun.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. Do they go over relatively quiet water, or?
Relatively quiet.
Because
you have all your camping gear and food in the canoe, so you really don't want to be going over crazy stuff.
Yeah. Not just that. I don't think I could. From where they put the rafts in, I would not want to go over in a canoe.
Yeah,
it would not be. It would be, the canoe would be folded in half. Yeah.
Well, I've done, you're gently paddling down the river.
Yeah.
Occasionally hit just a little bit of rough water, but you get through it easily enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you ever did any trips with fellow TIers back in the day, but we went down is it the Guadalupe? Yeah, the Guadalupe River.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of them stayed out overnight. And, it's like teenage wasteland there, lots of partying until wee hours in the morning. And nobody seemed to know how to row a canoe. It seems kind of simple, but, So there's not even 50 feet away, there's an obstruction under the water. It looked like a log or something, so there's I don't know, I don't even think it was a 1 foot drop. And two of these guys, come up in their canoe and panic and then get stuck sideways, and the canoe fills up and gets dumped over this little thing. And it's like, you guys, you got several hours of this, just the first little obstacle here.
Yeah. I'm sure those guides have seen everything,
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get back on track, guys. Is there anything else? Anybody has an issue, has a thing they want to ask questions or talk about?
Jack, you gonna make us a cup of coffee down there?
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay.
Well, you challenged me the other day.
I did.
And so I had to answer the challenge.
Okay. Okay, for storage.
So our these are the crossbars.
Yeah.
And so I added these blocks here in this tab, so that you basically store the crossbars in there, and then the tab locks it in. And then of course, when it folds up, they just stand in there with the rest of it. So challenge accepted and completed.
Okay, now you know what the next challenge is.
No, there's not a next challenge.
Yeah. So you see those little stubby parts that stick out? You have to get them so that they can be folded in somehow.
Challenge not accepted.
It has to be made out of black walnut, Scott.
Yeah.
Or
that's really good.
Better wood, maybe.
Just tell them to stack them opposite each other and then splat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
there you go.
Has to be made
Well,
out
I
of
mean-
Coca-Cola wood or, lignum
Yeah.
vitae or something like that.
yeah.
And just so you
Ironwood.
don't forget, how it's done. There's the video again.
Oh, wow.
Boy, that
That's
must have been
last week.
slow
That's
stuff.
last week's video, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same video.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Kind of looks like that same old platform. I don't know how it's going to do.
it's probably gonna beat you again.
Ooh.
I've also been working on my new robot, and I've come up with another name for it.
Okay.
And because it's going to be based on fast autonomous robot technology,
All
I'm
right.
going to name it Fart.
What?
Fart.
Okay. Okay. Well, can you show it to us? I see a big processor on it.
Yeah, it's got
Nope. Nope. The other way, towards your face. There you go.
yeah, it's actually got an H8 or H7 STM H723 on it. Rated at like 500 megahertz, single core, 144 pins. So I finally got the BNO 55 working on it. I've got, so I'm plugging in basically it's the same code CanMan uses. But I think I mentioned before the wheels on it, the way the gear ratio is,
It's gonna be much faster.
it's really, it's gonna go faster than I'm gonna be able to let it. So that's why I'm calling it fast autonomous robot technology.
Okay.
But Scott, Fart sounds more like Ray's robot.
How's that?
Well, because it lets
Yeah.
out a bunch of gas.
Well, I was going to call it Master Blaster, because we're a PG rated club,
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, that's gonna be cool.
Well, it's really the only thing it'll be ready for in May is the quick trip.
Oh, okay.
And I figured with its speed, that's my target right now. If I can dial in the odometry, I may try the 4-square with it. But there's no mechanism to, do anything with the can. There's no camera on it. There's no claw. There's no, right now it's pretty bare bones, if you will.
Okay.
I just have some memory for my variables. And like I said, I got the BNO 55 up and working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And, that and the motor and the encoders, that's about all it's going to do at this point. But I think that's a realistic target considering there's only, 6-8 weeks,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, it will be. Okay. All
So
right.
I figure I'll take second place with it from Ray.
Yeah, you should just go out and buy an OpenM VH7. I think it's the same processor.
Now, is it?
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of scrap boards from work that have a 748 on them. And I was planning on doing something with them, but before I messed with that, I was gonna see if I could get just the ST boards, so I didn't have to manage the pins and the functionality of the pins so much.
Yeah.
Of what the custom board was gonna let me get access to.
Yeah.
So I've been really interested in playing with the ST32 and their HAL drivers, and I've been kind of porting because I've done a lot of work with the NXP platform, but I haven't used the HAL drivers like ST has.
Yeah.
So it's been a learning curve, but I'm starting to warm up to it. At first, I really didn't like it, and I agree with the argument that it's just a lot of bloat and a lot of complexity you don't really need, a lot of options you don't really need. But a lot of times you're not sure what you need if you're just building something to be building it. So, you know, I'm starting to warm up to them, I guess, a little bit now that I understand it more. The documentation is really bad. You really have to just go through the source code and, look at what it's looking for and, debug it. And so, there's a couple architectural things I'm not happy about, but, like I said, it's a learning experience. They seem to work reliably once you get them working, unless you screw your part of it up.
Well, that's knowing if it's you or them is sometimes the part of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Has anybody actually used the HAL drivers from the ST platform?
Only for simple examples and stuff. I haven't really built anything with it, just to see if things would work. And it seemed like it was I could see where it could speed up a project an awful lot. Especially like you say, the more person used it, the probably more familiar they would become with it, and the faster they would be with it.
Yeah. Right now it's kind of slow because I'm having to really kind of feel my way around in the dark.
Oh, okay. He was Jim asked, how do you like STM?
I mean, overall, I like the hardware platform because the pins are, pretty flexible. There's a lot of options as far as mapping peripherals, and especially in the version I'm working with, there's like 9 UART and, there's like 16 SPI buses and I don't know how many I2C buses. So, it's super flexible, but with that comes complexity, right? Because, just like their timers, which is really, I think, over complex. You can do all these things with these timer modules. You can customize them for encoder inputs or PWM outputs, and to me that makes it confusing to try to, follow, what you need to do with it, since there's not like somewhat customized peripherals. Whereas like with the NXP, they have a hardware peripheral for an encoder, right? So you don't have to configure a timer for encoder mode. You don't have to do anything but turn the power bit on and tell it what clock to use and give it a prescaler and, read the register that says, okay, you're going this fast, or you can't, you have this many counts. And with ST, it's much more a la carte, where you have to kind of build that yourself. So, I think overall, it's just a different approach. And I think David mentioned it, or Ray, it just kind of depends on what you're familiar with. If you're familiar with it, I can see it being really powerful. And like Doug was saying, getting things up and running very quickly. Because, and I've done that in the past where, I'll write my own drivers for something and then I'll drag it around from one project to another. Where I don't have that base in this platform, right? But once you put that together and start understanding it, then you have those modules you can just start plugging and playing from one project to another. And the thing I do like about the drivers is the consistency, right? So once you have like an SPI driver to talk to an NV RAM chip, right? It doesn't matter whether it's this H7 platform or, an L platform or even one of the F302s, right? You'll be able to drop the same code in it because the HAL interface is all going to be the same, right? As long as you're not using, some of the higher level functions of some of the faster chips. So from that perspective, I think it's good.
Well, one of the other things that when I was playing a lot with them that I found a way of cheating is to use the what do they call their automatic generator of code?
The MX platform.
The MX platform. what I would do is I would actually use that and then use the debugger to see what bits were set. And then I can go set those bits by myself.
Yeah, well, what I've done, David, is I have a cube project that has the MX front end, right? So I can generate that initialization code. But what I don't like about that is if you put your own source code in the wrong place, like especially like in the main file, if you don't put it between the headers that says user code, then anytime you generate new configuration code, all that gets overwritten. And I really,
you need to follow their instructions of putting the code where they say to.
no. So
because like they tell you, if you put it anywhere else, they'll override it.
Well, what I've done, my workaround is I have the Cube project and MX that feeds it, but I have a whole different project that I have in Visual Studios, which I have a plugin for Visual Studios that I can do cross-compiling straight from Visual Studios. So I don't use the Cube platform in my development, but I'll go ahead and generate the initialization code, and then I'll just cut and paste it from there into my Visual Basic or my Visual Studios project. Okay. So that's kind of how I've gotten around.
That'll work, but
code in the right spot.
That'll work. The only problem is that if you decide you need a different configuration.
Well, yeah, it's manual. It's a much more manual process where you have to go in and set up the configuration and then generate it. But you know, something I've found is once you have an example of like setting up a UART, right? I just take that example and I cut and paste it and I modify what I need to modify.
Yeah, I understand. Perfectly workable. Perfectly workable.
I've kind of worked it both ways, but
yeah, I'm just lazy and sticking to where they say. Something about the path of least resistance.
Well, you know, I found the path of least resistance is not to use that method. You back, Doug?
Scott, Jim had asked if you had used the embed platform for the STM processors.
I played with it a little bit. I had a Kyle license from work that I mean, it's a single seat license, so I just used it for most of the development I did with LPCs until I found the Visual Studios plugin. And then I just use that. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to set up a new project for a new platform like that, like because I have the free RTOS plugged into this, and pulling that into the Visual Studios project was kind of a chore. It was harder than it should have been, but I really like the editor in Visual Studios. And the plugin actually even works with Visual Code, which of course is the free community version. It works with the community version of Visual Studios too.
Well, like they say, whatever works for you.
It's kind of what like you were saying, the path of least resistance.
I tried it as well, the MX Cube software, and nice that it had the code generator for you to start up and set all the bits for the registers and everything. But the HAL stuff was quite an uphill battle. I found that, you know, even knowing what you were going to go look for to try to use. Whereas in the Arduino world, there's so much help out there. It makes it a little easier to just play around for more beginners like us. Like me, anyway.
Certainly. Yeah, but at some point though, the Arduino has its limitations, right? I mean, if you want to do something outside the norm, you know, sometimes that makes it a little more difficult. But you know, I'm just a hardcore C guy to start with, so actually trying to figure out the register bits is something I enjoy. Which is, I think, one of the things that I hated so much originally about the HAL drivers is it you know, it abstracts that. It takes you away from what's actually going on the register level into, you know, all these little convenient wrappers and, you know, functions. But with the ST platform,
the whole operating system almost in the HAL, and it's really heavy duty stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of found that the register structures, and like I was saying earlier, you know, because of the flexibility of a lot of their peripherals, it makes the register sets confusing and you know, complicated. You know, and like I said, I gave the example of the timer thing. I mean, how many? I couldn't even count how many registers a timer, you know, peripheral has in the ST world. So it's not as intuitive, or I would say straightforward, digging through, you know, several 32-bit registers. But you know, like I said, I think the portability, I think, is really what would make it as attractive as anything to get over that learning curve. And it all depends on, you know, when you're doing it for fun, then, you know, you should have fun doing it. Since I was forced to do a lot of that at work, you know, it's like, okay, so I might as well get some fun out of the, you know, what I endured from the project at work. So
At the project at work, were you also using an STM?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were using the L452.
I know what you mean about the hardware limitations with Arduino, and the hardware and the software limitations. I've been trying to work on, with the motor shield I have, it uses 2 different timers for the pulse width modulation to drive each wheel. So one timer is one wheel, one timer is the other wheel. And for timer 0 is used basically for your timing functions, your different functions on the Arduino itself, which left me no timer left essentially for a servo pulse width modulation. Which is why I sort of jumped to say, okay, well, I'll try an Arduino 0, a SAM-D21 based chip. It's got the same board layout as an Uno. And I had to play around a little bit with that to try to get the timers correct to be able to drive it. And I did finally manage that I was able to drive the 2 pulse width modulations with 2 timers, and then drive a servo with another timer, and get that working, as well as a timed interrupt for my routine on, so I was using 4 timers. And managed to get that working, but it's quite a bit of digging around trying to get that all sorted out and working.
Yeah, you should, you know, for a PID, you know, a PWM output, you should be able to use a single timer, and because normally the timers will have multiple compare registers, right? So you have, you know, timer compare 1, timer compare 2, timer compare 3, and a lot of times what I actually do is you use one compare channel for one PWM and another compare channel on the same timer for the other PWM, because it doesn't matter if the PWMs switch on at the same time, because your 2 timer compare registers are going to kill it at whatever that particular one is, right? So there's really not an advantage to having 2 independent timers running, right? You can trigger your PWM signal at the same time and then just kill it or turn it off per channel, right?
Yeah,
so that's something you can look at. I think even through Arduino you can do that, but I'm not that familiar with Arduino, so I'm not sure.
The servo library does that, where it's using multiple output compares to drive different pins.
Right.
But the pulse width modulation outputs, I believe the pins are tied to the timer.
I think
Yeah,
you're right.
they'll usually they're tied.
On what part are you talking about?
Like on Arduino Uno, 328P basically. AVR 328.
Oh.
And I thought, and I haven't dug into the hardware manual on it to see whether I can set my own timers. And like you say, it seems like overkill to use 2 timers to drive 2 different output pins, where, you know, I should be able to drive whatever, several pins using an output compare register and just say, hey, turn them on at 0 and turn them off at whatever when they get their count.
You get two PWM pins per timer.
Yes.
Because
The problem is I'm using 1 pin off of timer 1 and 1 pin off of timer 2 right now in the Arduino world.
Well,
And that's hardwired.
I'm going to tell you, Pat, you would, all of those, if you're going to stay with Arduino and you're going to do that, just get a Mega. It kills all of those problems. You got plenty of PWM pins. You got plenty of timers. I think there's 7 timers on it. And, you know, you got 4 serial port. I mean, it's just, it's basically like 4 Megas stacked. I mean, 4 Unos stacked on top of each other.
So I've got no room to put a Mega on there.
Use those little modules. It's smaller than a Uno.
Yeah, but then I would have to rewire my shield. And right now it's nice, it just plugs in. I agree though. It's the Uno structure is limiting.
Yes, it is.
You mean no free lunch?
Pardon me?
You mean there's no free lunches?
Yeah, no free lunches.
Yeah. But anyway, I think the biggest thing you have to be careful about if you're going to use the Uno is that each timer has different scalars. So if you're not careful, you'll end up with 2 different frequencies, one being sent to one wheel and one frequency being sent to the other. And that makes things a little more complicated than you probably want to put up with.
Yeah, I looked at that as well because I thought it may be the case. I've got one is an 8-bit timer, one is a 16-bit timer.
Yeah.
And when I put the logic analyzer on it, they're both coming out with the same frequency.
Okay. Well, like I say, I know there are some that are the same. I just know that there's some that are different, and you have to just be careful if you're gonna. I can't remember. I used to know which pins you should use, but
yeah, I've got it right here. It's pins 5 and 6 are 980 hertz, and pins 2 through 13, 44 through 46 is 490 hertz.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's on the Mega.
Yeah, but there's something simple.
Pin 9 and 10, I believe, are on the same timer, and pin 11 and 12 or 11 and 13 are on the same timer. And I'm using pin 10 and pin 11, and that's hardwired on the shield, which is, you know, if I would have had more forethought before this, I would have got a different shield with using the same timer.
And you're saying, Ray, that's 400 hertz?
Yeah, 490 hertz and 980 hertz.
That's awful darn slow.
Yep.
Yeah. But you can change Scott, you can change it. Okay. You can change them up. You can. Yeah, because I usually end up changing them.
The Uno default, I think, was 780 hertz. And for some reason, I don't know if that's right or what. That's what the logic folks told me.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's still, in the audio range.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I would agree in the audio range.
Yeah.
It can get rather annoying,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can start to sing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're using which pins? 10 and 11?
10 and 11. I'm just pulling it up right now.
So if it's just normal, it's 490 hertz. So
I'm just going to see what it's doing right now. I'm just wiring it up.
yeah. I'm going to put a link in that can tell you how to very easily change them. Okay.
Thank you.
See if I can find it. Get to your. There you go. That's just a couple of one-liners. I mean, there's definitely, you only have a few frequencies you can select because the scaler is prescaler is only got certain values too. Scott, I got a question. Did you ever receive, and Ray, you too, did you guys receive your Robo Columbus mugs?
Yeah.
The mugs, yes. The money, no.
Well, no.
Yeah, I never got my prize money either.
Well, I sent you a message on that. Okay.
Yeah, and I replied.
I didn't see any replies, but what you were, if you didn't get, did you order something? Did you order something in the on that? You were supposed to be able to order certain money and then just send to Steve, and you should be able to get reimbursed for it. I wanted to do that because at the time it was Black Friday or whatever, Dark Friday, and it was so I wanted you to be able to take advantage of the sales that they had. Okay, so
yeah, I'd sent Steve a receipt. I bought some new wheels for Belch, some indoor wheels.
Can you copy me on the communication?
I can go back and dig it up.
Okay, and I'll try to see what happened. And Ray, did you order anything?
Oh yeah, ordered all kinds of stuff. I don't know if I kept.
No, but I mean, did you? But okay, but do you know? Did you? Okay, well, you need to have a receipt. Good, but look at. Did you got the message where I told you what your limit was?
Oh, the prize money, the amount.
Yeah. If not, okay, yeah. I can resend that.
Yeah.
It sounds like Scott. I think Scott got it. Sounds like it. And
I think I may have gotten it, but and you sent me the mug.
Okay.
But I forgot what it is or what it was.
Okay. Has anybody got their mug handy? Where I'd like to see what it looked like.
I can go get it.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I got mine right here, Ray.
Oh, okay.
Ray, yeah. Scott, you got both, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's what it looked like. Flip it over. Should have had the logo on the backside. Okay, that looks pretty good. And you guys want it? Does it look good to you? I mean, it's the. Okay, show them the first one too. Do you got the first one?
I'm
I
hoping
think
it's
Scott's
microwave safe.
Yeah. Well, I've microwaved the heck out of my.
Oh, good. And
This is
your
from the same
your
company.
logo
These
is
are
still intact.
collector's
Huh?
editions, Doug. I mean,
Huh?
these are supposed to be collector's editions, right? Mint
Right.
condition.
You're the only one. You're the only one with both of those. I mean, I don't have any of them. All I got is this.
Yeah. It's a
So,
very, very small set of collectors, though, that'd be interested in them.
well, hey.
One day, Ray. One day they'll be
Someday,
worth.
Ray. Yeah. So it's interesting though. Like I say, Scott's got a complete set so far.
What's that?
He's got a complete set of both years. So anyway, we'll see. All right. Thanks, Scott. I wanted to see what they look like. And if you got, like I say, I'll if you, Scott, if you'll send me your information, and I'll send Ray that initial conversation and see if you responded to it. Okay, cool.
I'll probably cover the dues, you know. So.
Well, you could do that if you wanted to. A certain person I know, and he could do that.
Yeah, resend it. I don't know how much it was.
I think it's less than what Scott got, but I can't remember what it was. That's what happens, right, Scott, when you come in second?
That's right.
I thought you had. I thought
the first loser, though.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, anybody else got anything? Nothing. Jack, how's school going?
It's going well. Nothing too eventful.
Okay.
Are you a senior this year?
Yes. Well, I'll be graduating this December.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So what, any
It
plans?
seems
after?
like just the other day we saw you graduating from high school.
So it does feel that way.
So any plans yet, or?
Not yet. Just gonna be applying for a lot of jobs this summer.
So have your parents told you you're going to have to pay rent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's your rite of passage. You know, it's like, oh God, got to pay rent to the parents now.
Not ready for retirement. I'm sorry?
So that's when you know you're grown up.
Looking forward to taxes too.
Yeah, the free ride is over.
Yeah.
All
Nothing
right.
beats the joy of paying taxes.
Yes. Robot wise, I've just been mainly working on the hardware and electronics part, trying to make it more robust.
Yeah. I know you were looking at buying some parts. Did you manage?
Oh
get
yeah.
your-
So I think last time I said I was gonna get a new voltage supply for the robot, but I changed I ended up getting these big stepper motor driver bricks that seemed to fix all my problems that I was having with the stepper motors before. I thought that was an amperage problem, but apparently it was some sort of circuitry problem.
Okay.
I think Pat's jamming all the RF frequencies in Canada right now. So.
That must be PM pin number 11.
Television, radio, ship ashore broadcast.
That was both on a download to using those settings. So I don't know what it did. While I was download rating to the processor, it just went nuts.
Okay. All right. Well, does anybody, because I got dropped off, I lost the chat. Can somebody copy chat and send it to me? Somebody volunteer to do that?
Sure. Just in an email, you mean?
Yeah, just copy all of the chat and then put it in an email, and then that'll allow me to do it. Or if you have Word, you can put it in Word and make it a PDF and send it to me, one or the other.
Okay. Yeah, I can do it.
Boy, I don't know. I'm curious of what's going down. We see Pat looking down, very, very like, and we hear these weird noises.
I've got you're on my work computer in the background, and I've got a little laptop in the foreground, and I'm looking down as I'm doing this, and it runs crazy fast. And then after a little bit, the speed settles right down and goes where it should. So I think I need a delay when I set those reset the prescalers on those timers.
Okay.
So I'm just going to put in a delay and see what happens here.
All right. Well, okay. Well, unless we have something else to talk about, I'm saying let's call it. Ray's going to send me the minutes. And,
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, and we'll just have to see what happens here for the video. We'll have most of it. There might be some that's dropped off. Okay, so if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.